Mumbai Indians versus Royal Challengers Bangalore at Wankhede is match number 54. Both teams locked in that middle table logjam. Mumbai, when they last met RCB, which was in the opening weekend of this season, were fretting on the fitness of Jofra Archer. At this part of the season, they've been waiting to see him at his best. Will that happen? Will we see Archer unlocked towards this back end as Mumbai make a push for the playoffs? Let's put that question to Ian Bishop and Deep Dasgupta. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Bish, what stands out overall is that he's bowled 9 overs in the power play without having taken a wicket. That's such a sharp contrast to 2020 when he was the MVP. He was almost unplayable in that period. How much of that difference do you attribute to just the fact that this is a player returning from such a long layoff, and how much of it can be attributed to the pitches and the difference between the UAE and India?
No, I think most of it, a high percentage of it, would be a guy, having had injuries myself, and Deep would know, we've all had injuries. I have had back injuries. The mental strain, the physical strain of coming back from serious injuries one after the other has to have an effect on Jofra. Where his state of mind is in terms of trust in his body, only time will tell, only he knows. And then it'll take time to get into his best rhythm. I know he came back in South Africa and he had that 6 for 40 or whatever in an ODI, but it still takes time. So we can only guess and speculate where his level of fitness is. But hopefully as he gets more game time and more reps, he'll get even better.
I know it's a long time since that 2020 campaign, but one of the things, one of the features was bowling just the first over. He opened the bowling in 10 out of 14 innings then. Yeah. You look at this campaign with MI, 5 games, and not yet have we seen him be given the first over. So do you think a bit of lack of clarity or added clarity or just being given that confidence of the ball up front will help him?
Maybe it's also trying to ease him into games as well. As you rightly mentioned, he hasn't played a lot of cricket since then. And obviously, as Bish mentioned, coming off an injury, a quick bowler, and this is like almost a career-threatening injury. It's not just another injury. It's not a hamstring strain or a quad strain or something. Serious injury, subconsciously, I'm sure he would be thinking there's a big summer coming up with the Ashes and stuff like that. So I think you've got to keep all that in mind. And I think one of the reasons the bowling patterns or the patterns that he's bowled, overs and stuff, it's got to do with am I trying to ease him into it as well? Because obviously it does not look anywhere close to his best. Every now and then he'll come up with an over or a ball which will remind you of the actual Jofra Archer, and you'll be sitting up and like, oh, now this is it, and this is Jofra, and this is going to be his over. But obviously he's nowhere near close in terms of maybe psychologically, maybe fitness, or even game time for that matter.
And you see that baggage, Bish, when you just look at the breakdown of his speeds, where more than a fourth of Jofra Archer's deliveries so far this IPL have been less than 130 clicks. Do you think he needs to use his variations less frequently, or is this all just easier said than done considering all that baggage of injuries?
Does he trust his body? Can he call on that type of velocity at will? I couldn't after I had my injuries as well, as much as I wanted to. So all of those things come into play. So we'll have to give him what we call in the Caribbean a little bit of a bly, given it's not just one injury, it's a sequence of deliveries over the last 2 years. So we'll have to give him some leeway, but that's certainly perfection to bowl more of those pace-on deliveries of the highest velocity, because I think the strike rate is so much lower when it's above 145 compared to below 135.
Yeah. If he does get that new ball, it comes up against Virat Kohli, Faf du Plessis. Strong numbers against du Plessis, but against Kohli, he's yet to have dismissed him in 64 balls.
Yeah.
That should be an interesting matchup, but I guess the more pertinent matchup of Virat Kohli follows if he makes it beyond the power play. Yeah. That approach, which we've discussed a lot already this season, especially against spin, how decisive can it be at a ground like Wankhede, where we know scores tend to go higher than ever?
Well, it's going to be important. It's a high-scoring venue. There is no opportunity for a batter to kind of slow things down, whether it's at the first or after 6 or whatever. It's just got to go at a pace. But I think the situation is a lot different as compared to the last few games. You've got middle order firing. You've got Mahipal Lomror who's firing. I mean, at times we talk about his strike rate out of context and in isolation. So at times, for me, you've got to look at those innings also in the context of the game. Yes, you can argue, obviously, the kind of class that he has, the ability that he has, he can go even higher, irrespective of what the conditions are. But again, going back to the last game, 2 wickets in the same over, middle order not really contributing this season. You can fall into that trap. But I guess with Mahipal Lomror firing and the way that he's batted last couple of innings, that should free up the top order. And that should free up Virat as well.